It is 9:45 and I had one trade with EMGE, and the one I took did not work out, but if you look at the price action now, I don't really like the way it traded, so I never gave it any money, but this ended up being like another, perhaps a dip and rip setup where it just has a downtrend after the market opens, and then it finds a bottom somewhere, and then it reverses. Well, this was a pretty massive candle. I don't mind not being a part of it because it was just kind of ugly the way it traded, but who knows, maybe I can get used to it and I can eventually be a part of this. I did trade EMGE, a dip and rip, not too long ago, and that was a pretty profitable trade. It had a really big morning spike, but I took a trade right here in the morning because 3 cents was a very nice level to break past. It was a resistance level, as you can see over a longer period of time, even way back here. So the idea was that when the market opened, it was uptrending. It looked like it was going to break 3 cents, so I got in it, and I thought it could, break past it and be like a nice morning spike. I did buy 3,500 shares at 932 and 299, which was right exactly here. And then I did sell 1,000 shares just 2 minutes later at 302. Right here, I sold some at 302 just so I could sell some so that if it doesn't work out, I at least sold some while it was still uptrending. And then I had a trend line, and once it was breaking past it, I did sell more. I sold at 936, 1,500 shares at 3 cents, which was right here. And I figured, maybe it's going to break this trend line, but like I've experienced before, maybe it'll break it a little bit, it'll kind of consolidate, and then it'll turn around and start to do the proper spike or maybe another follow-up move towards the upside. And this wasn't the case. As you can see, it downtrended much more, but it did turn around eventually. It wouldn't have been ideal for me though, for me to have, have a position at 3 cents and it's at 29, and then you don't know if it's going to turn around right then and there. I'm very happy that I sold my last piece at 936 at 299 because of the fact that I was giving it a chance, but a very large seller showed up at 3 cents. They had like 400,000 shares at the ask, and that's when I got out. It did do the move. I guess you can call this a dip and rip, but again, I don't like the way it traded. That's pretty much it for right now, and FXLV is spiking exactly the way I wanted it to yesterday. When I first bought it way back here, I think it was here, when it was breaking past 150, but that's pretty much it for right now. I'll be looking for more setups. Just one scratch trading EMGE. Alright, it is 10:07 and I had two more trades. It seems like it's not going to be my day. Things are just not really working out that nicely, so I'm probably going to take a step back and be less likely interested in trading unless I see something that is absolutely perfect. I had a trade with TGHI as well as FXLV. TGHI was a setup where it looked like it was going to break the day high, which was this 30 sub penny level. And ideally, I could have been in at a better price at 28 when it was first showing that it was trying to hold VWAP and then break the high of 28, which was the top of this candle right here. And because I wasn't able to be in at an early point, I knew that I was going to be really conservative being in if it's going to get to that 30 sub penny level. And it did get to it. I did buy, yeah, 954, 30,000 shares at this level right here. And it did uptrend, but it didn't do that much more. I had a trend line as well, and it wasn't looking too bad, but then the price action got really ugly. As you can see, this was a big volume candle, and this was just a bunch of people, or maybe just one person, just dumping a whole bunch of shares at the bid, and it was just knocking it down. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to get out for break even. I did have a sell right here, an order at 956, and my lowest was 29, the limit. 956 was right here, and yeah, it just kept downtrending. It broke the line. The price action was looking ugly. We did have a lot of big people supporting the bid on top of the uptrend that it was having past this 30 sub penny level, but it was just all taken out. It was just a lot of selling price action, and it was super ugly. And I did get out at 29, which made it a loss because it was lower than my 30 entry, so it was just one tick lower. And it didn't really break VWAP, but it's looking kind of ugly. I'll continue to watch it if maybe you can try to break it later, but it just makes me less interested in trading it because it didn't work the time I got in. And you know, it might be just something that runs for a day and it just sells off as well. It does have a lot of volume, but it's much cheaper than what it used to be. I will make an update later. It's just looking super ugly. And as for FXLV, I traded this one as well. This one didn't work out. This was, in my mind, like inverse head and shoulders, not a perfect one. And the idea was that I had a nice morning spike, it downtrends. It even had this excessive wick right here with extreme selling price action, and then it kind of comes back and then it downtrends, and now it's trading around the same level as it was roughly around here. And I thought it could be an inverse head and shoulders, and I did get in 50 shares at 10:04, right at I would say roughly 217, 10:04 right here at 217. It looked like it was trying to do it, and it was doing it. It was uptrending, but as you can see, it broke the trend line. I did sell though 10 shares while it was uptrending, just like what I'm saying, that you know, I'm gonna sell a piece so that if it fails ultimately, at least I had a piece that I sold higher, so it kind of makes it so that I don't lose as much. And at 10:06, I did sell 10 shares at 219 and a half right here. And that was my sell right there. And that was a good call because it downtrended, it broke the trend line, and it didn't just break it and come back. It actually broke it and went lower. So I did get out the rest of my position at 214, and that was at 10:07. Right here, 214. And this is where it's been trading ever since. I don't necessarily want to trade this one anymore unless, I don't know, unless maybe it kind of, maybe breaks this trend line convincingly, you know, like over a longer period of time. Or maybe it kind of breaks past it and then it downtrends and then it consolidates, but it's still breaking past the trend line. That could be something, but at this point, I'm going to be more hesitant on trading. EMGE did drop towards VWAP and hold, but I was just thrown off from trading this one because I didn't like the way it was trading. It was super ugly. So yeah, it seems like I'm just missing setups, or I'm just not trading as well as I normally am. So I'm going to be more hesitant on trading. It just doesn't seem like it's my day at the moment. Okay, it is 11:55 and I don't think I'm going to trade anything else. I had two more trades with FXLV, and this was with the same idea that I mentioned in the other recording, that I started to draw this trend line and I said, hey, if it breaks past the trend line and then it consolidates and then it downtrends a little, but then it still has distance from the trend line, I'm going to consider a long setup. And this looks a lot like the other trade with FXLV I traded on the first day that it was down a lot. It looked like an inverse head and shoulders. It was around the 11 a.m. time period, and it worked out and it made a move, although this one was not as big as the other one. In fact, let me see if I can get the other one just to compare the charts. Yeah, so this was it, right? As you can see, kind of similar, downtrended a lot, 11 a.m. reversal, inverse head and shoulder, shoulder, head, and then shoulder, and it made a really nice move. It went, I think, higher than this level. By the end of the day, it was still much higher than here. And this was the same idea, 11 a.m., shoulder, head, shoulder. I've said this one did not uptrend that much. It didn't get to VWAP, which stinks, but it still made an uptrend, so it kind of worked. It wasn't like it just absolutely failed. I did trade it twice, so let me go back to my first buy, which was right here at 11:04 at 195. So this was the thing. I didn't like it too much because even though we broke past the trend line, I didn't like how we didn't have like a nice dip. I saw this, but I thought this was like a little baby dip. And then here, when we had another little baby dip, I thought, you know what, maybe this is all that it can be able to offer, and then I'll make the move, ideally, if it works, of course. So that's why at 11:04 I was in at 95, and then I did sell ultimately my entire position when it looked like it was going to break this level right around here, and it wasn't looking too ideal anymore. I did get out at 11:38, so I actually held on to this one for a while at 194. Wait, that's not it actually. Right here, 11:11. Okay. All right, that's the right time. I got in again at 11:04 right here at 195, and then I got out 11:11 at 193 right around here, because it did uptrend a little bit, but you know, I thought it was going to do it right then and there after having a little dip here, then a little dip, and then it was showing that it was uptrending. I got in right here, and then 11:11 I got out right here because it just wasn't looking like it was going to do it, and then I went off. And then it had the dip I wanted. So, you know, it had the distance from this trend line right here, and then it had the significant dip. It had these little baby ones, and I thought that was all it was able to do. But if I was there when it happened, I should be long around 187 when it shows that it had a dip right here. It consolidates, and now it looks like it's going to reverse. This is when I should have been in. Officially, this would have been the ideal point, but I did get in later when I saw this later after I had this dip and everything, and it was looking like now this could be the pattern, the inverse head and shoulders, the shoulder, the head, the shoulder. So there was more confirmation because we also had that dip that I wanted. Again, ideally I would already be in at 187, but I wasn't there when that was happening. But now it looks like we have that thing where it can try to be the shoulder right here, and then it can make a move towards VWAP. I got in 40 shares. Oh, and by the way, I got in just 40 shares at 11.04 because I was thinking worst case scenario, I'm in it right here, and then I'll be cutting it if it breaks this, I believe the 193, 192-ish level, and then worst case scenario, it follows the trend line. Sometimes the stock kind of breaks past the trend line, as you can see right here, but then it immediately downtrends and tries to follow it. This one was a bit more aggressive because it didn't just come back to the trend line, but it broke much further. But I was thinking that was worst case scenario, so that's why I had 40 shares. And then I did trade that other piece, 1138. I bought 40 shares at I would say 195 at 1138 right here. I got in at 195 because it was looking like it was trying to break the ceiling also of 195 and get to the 196s. And I mean, it did uptrend. It just didn't do anything like the other day. It didn't get towards VWAP. I did sell 10 shares at 198. That was 1141 on the uptrend. This was an improvement from the other trade because in the other trade I sold half of my position when I should have just sold a quarter or a smaller piece. I did sell some at 198 right here. I sold 10 more shares at 201, and that was 1143 on the uptrend. And then I allowed it to break the trend line, right? And then if it makes like an ideal consolidation point, it can then try to uptrend later and maybe regain itself like it did the first day. Let me just, for reference, bring that chart again if I still have it. Let me get the chart again just to show what I'm trying to talk about. Yeah, you see right here, this was a trade I took, and then I got out when it broke the trend line officially, but then it consolidated, as you can see right here just briefly, and then it came back and regained itself above the trend line in this case, and then it was much higher. It got to VWAP. So my idea was the same with that here, that okay, it broke the trend line, it's going to downtrend. Ideally consolidate. Obviously, it could just continue to downtrend, and that would be a point where I would get out of the trade if it doesn't look like it's trying to consolidate after it breaks this line. But I thought it could consolidate here and then regain itself and get to the trend line and maybe continue to make another leg up. That was not the case. As you can tell, it clearly did not do that. It broke under it. And I thought, you know, if it breaks under this level right here, it's probably going to kill the pattern. And that's exactly what happened eventually. At 11:55, I got out the other half at 197.5. That was right here is when I got out, when it officially broke under this level right here. It even had like a little gap down. So that was the case with that. Maybe this thing can uptrend over a longer period of time, and I'll make an update when the markets are closed. But that's pretty much it. I'm happy I had one trade that, you know, worked out. It wasn't like it worked out massively, but it definitely did make a move towards the upside. And I think I traded this much better than the other one. And ideally, if I had the same strategy and skills and improvements on that first trade, I will be much more profitable. So I think that's the case with that. This was a good step in the right direction now, allowing myself to not sell everything when the trend line breaks, but also be able to hold some so that it ideally makes a consolidation level and then it uptrends more. This one didn't do it, but That's the idea there, and I've seen a lot of setups work like that. Okay, it is 9:18 p.m. and I'm here to call it off. Overall, I'm going to be down on the day is going to be $3.22. And considering the fact that I had 5 trades and 4 out of those setups did not work out and just one did, I think that's a pretty good thing to just try to look at it positively. And that also finishes a month. I traded 39 setups, and that was $60 month, which is so tiny, but I am trading a $30 risk level, which is an upgrade from previously the last month. I think I was still doing a $20 risk level. I like how I have more green days and red days, and then the red days that I do have, they're not like ridiculously large and just wipes out a whole week of work or something like that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. FXLV, I guess, did an inverse head and shoulders here. I wouldn't have really have traded it anymore just because of the fact that the thing was so sad. It was just downtrending so impressively. I'll probably use maybe my new thumbnail picture of a bear just because this thing was just wiped out so much. But I guess this one actually did a trend line break, a downtrending trend line break that immediately worked, which would have been super nice. And yeah, that's pretty much about it. There was a whole bunch of trades, and as for the first one with EMGE, it didn't really do that much. I was looking at it later in the day, but it wasn't anything too ideal. It did uptrend here, but I was no longer watching it, and this is kind of just something I don't really want to mess with. But I do like how it's breaking past this 34 level, so maybe that can be grounds for maybe a morning spike on Monday, but I don't like the way this one trades too much. And then this one right here, TGHI, this one continued to downtrend throughout the rest of the day. Had I been able to get out of my position here when it wasn't working out for break even, I would just have a slightly profitable trade. This is pretty much the main reason why I ended up with a red day is because I wasn't able to sell for break even. I sold at 29 instead of 30, which, you know, it being a sub penny was just one tick, but there is a percent difference because the numbers are so small. That's it for this week. That's it for this month. Plenty of things I could have done better, but a lot of good lessons were also learned. And I do like the way I traded FXLV. If I traded it like this on the first time I traded it, this would have been super profitable. That's all I have for today.